So this is episode 3 of I'm Told I Had a Good Time with Micky Dolenz, a podcast relating to his new book, which is available from Beatland Books. And this is a sample of the hardback edition. In fact, I think this is your copy, Micky, here. Came in the mail.
Wow.
There it is, signed by you. And
excellent.
you signed all of them yourself, not with the auto pen or anything. So
nope, everyone.
But last episode, which is getting some nice responses, we said we would take questions. So I've got a bunch of questions. So we'll go through those and we'll talk to people because they asked for specific stuff about the book. Jennifer says, thank you, Andrew and Micky, for an amazing gem of a book. I'd like to know, how did Micky preserve all of his wonderful material for so many years?
Absolutely by accident. I had no intention of doing anything with stuff. I don't know why. I might have picked up the habit from my mom. She tended to save stuff of my childhood, or my sisters, of course, and stuff that we did as a family. So maybe that's where it started. I don't know. I just started to stick little bits of paper and report cards from school, and just interesting things I found interesting. Like somewhere in my boxes of stuff, I started keeping front pages of newspapers. When I don't know, you probably came across those, Andrew.
I threw all of them out.
Oh, great. And I had some pretty cool headlines of stuff, from the past, not to do with me, just, interesting news stuff. And I just started keeping photographs, a lot of photographs. Every time I got a bunch of photographs of course, my children, and that's what happened during the Monkees. I started taking photos, first with a little snap camera, and then with a big full-blown, rig, a Nikon. And I would just keep stuff. I'd get the negatives and stick them in a drawer. And then when I moved 4 times, all the stuff moved with me. Goodness knows what got lost in the moves and the shuffle.
Not a lot, but not a lot of. We found so much good stuff. Jennifer also mentions that she saw your show in St. Charles and it was outstanding, and that you look great and you have an extra spring in your step.
Yeah, I feel much better than I did a few months ago. As everybody knows, I had a little bit of a health thing going on. Touch wood, nothing serious. And under the weather, we call it. But yeah, it's gotten a lot better. I joined a gym, and they didn't tell you that you have to show up. And so I'm considering some legal action, because if I joined the gym, I did not get buff and fit and healthy. And then I read the fine print, and it said you have to show up to the gym. They don't tell you that when you're buying membership.
It's a one-way sale. There's no money back, I think, if you
it's a scam, total scam.
Bailey says that she loves this series and so grateful to Micky for curating these podcasts to give us sneak peeks of the book. She has 2 questions. Will we be seeing photos from the Justice album recording sessions or during that era in general in this book? And I'll answer that one, which is no, because the book goes up to 78. However, relating to that, because I did have some pre-knowledge looking at these comments, I will mention that in the book, there is Micky's original draft of the song You and I that was later on Justice.
Oh, yeah.
Which he wrote with you and was originally recorded by these guys, Dolenz, Jones, Boyce, and Hart. So that is in the book that you're going to get. So
very cool.
Do you remember writing that with David? I think you said you wrote it on the way back from like Magic Mountain or Knott's Berry Farm or something like that. Years ago, we talked about this.
I do remember, and it was back from a gig, and I seem to remember it was down south, so it would have been Knott's Berry Farm or possibly
you did Disneyland.
Something like that. Yeah, and I remember writing it in the car with Davey.
Yeah. And I think Peter even showed up when you played Disneyland once and came up on stage with you and
That's
David.
right.
Yeah.
All right. I forgot about that. You're right. He did. Davey and I were playing, and he showed up.
Yeah, and there's a photo of you with Peter as well from that period at the Starwood, I think. You played the Dolenz and Jones show at the Starwood. This was after Boyce and Hart,
Yep,
that era.
that's true.
So, but it will. She also says, "Will it be in volume two?" And I guess we haven't really figured out the span of volume two. But I don't. I was thinking about this question too a bit, which is that in going through your stuff, there's definitely lots of stuff after 1978 that would be interesting for a book. But I think when you moved to England, you stopped taking photos in the same way you were doing it up to that point. Because it was a real pastime hobby. You had a dark room at your home and all that stuff. When you moved to England, you really got more into just directing videos. And I thought like what would be interesting in the next volume would be to have screen caps of some of these videos that you directed and go into that direction.
Well, videos and television shows. A lot
Right.
of television, a couple of short films, commercials, music videos. Yeah, but I did stop, snapshots and home movies and stuff. I eventually, well, actually, I did keep up the home movie stuff when I started having kids. Um, my kids, English kids, they're on English video. They weren't filmed. They were video, and I do have some stuff of that.
Yeah.
But so we'll see. We just have to see how it goes with this book, of course, and it's looking good.
Yeah, things are looking good. We're gonna sell out certainly of these hardbacks pretty soon, so that's exciting. Um, let's see. Also, I thought I would mention though, in going through, I hadn't found anything of you taking photos during Just Us era in the studio specifically.
No.
So don't want to get anybody's hopes up for something, but if we find something like that, obviously it'd be great. And also the other question from Bailey is, have you ever thought of doing a Spanish language album?
It's been mentioned to do, well, not maybe a whole album, but to maybe do some songs. I did do the Monkey theme. You'd probably know the answer to this better than I, Andrew. I know I did it in Italian, I believe.
Yes.
And I think there might have, and maybe another language, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I think the Italian one's the only one I know of as far as that came out. When the series was on in different countries like Japan, it was all different actors dubbing your voices, doing, so the people got used to your characters, but through other actors really doing those parts. It's interesting.
I met my Japanese doppelganger, I guess you call it. Yeah, a lovely guy, and he became quite famous doing my voice on the Monkees.
Yeah, during good times, I should add the last bit on this question is that Nez became quite fascinated with the idea of doing a Spanish version of Me and Magdalena. And he did actually record that. We did some work on that, and it just never came out. So somewhere down the line, maybe that will show up. But that was something he was very excited about. He felt it had that song lent itself well to that.
It certainly does lend itself to that. That'd be a lovely thing. Maybe do it with my sister.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. This person asks, there were a couple of requests for you to talk a bit about your circus boy days, and there's quite a bit in the book. Just grab one of them. There's some specific questions I think that people had, but it should be noted that there is a good amount of nice stuff from the circus boy era, including your original contract, which I think is hanging behind you, but I have it here too. That you saw, which is really cool. Here it is.
That is, that was the contract that after I auditioned and did screen tests and stuff, I was 10 years old. I kind of forgot about it and went back to school. I was going to school and playing baseball, and I hadn't really thought about it. And my parents one day said, "Listen, we're going to go have dinner at the restaurant, my father's restaurant, the Marquee restaurant," which we did frequently. And then I guess they may have said, "Well, a couple of the producers that you auditioned for, we're going to have dinner with them." I didn't put two and two together. Again, I'm just 10 years old. And we got there and we're having dinner, and they pulled out this cute animated little hand-drawn contract. And I was kind of taken by surprise too. I was like, wow. And even for a 10-year-old, I for some reason I clearly remember after they told me I was going to do the series, I walked out into the parking lot at the front of the restaurant, and I looked up at the stars and put my arm on the hood of a car, and I remember the feeling and thinking, this is really big. The car was big. No,
it could be the start of something very big. And this is I borrowed from your home briefly. This is the menu from your father's restaurant, the Marquis, Sunset Marquis.
Yeah.
A bit of history and pictures of you and Coco inside the Marquis in the book as well.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Beautiful restaurant.
Yeah, incredible. And there's incredible history there. There's a lot more to dig into. There's quite a bit in the book on it in brief. Mm-hmm. And then if you dig in online, there's a lot of photos as well. This person asks, in your school years, did you have a passion for history all along your passion for science? Was there any foreshadowing events in your youth that may have hinted at this kind of project may come to fruition someday?
You mean the book project?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think that's what you're talking about.
Absolutely not. I had no intention ever of. I thought maybe I thought my kids or grandkids would be interested. Again, I think it might have just been following in my mom's footsteps, keeping stuff, archiving the family stuff. That's the only thing I can think of. In terms of history, I did like history. Those were probably my two favorite subjects in school, were history and science. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You also did some interesting. There's a few other bits of your school stuff in here. There's a report on India. That's a very nice hand-drawn cover by you. And you mentioned your mom quite a bit. She did keep very nice photo albums and annotated things and would write on the back things, which was extremely helpful to me in tracking down, dating certain things. And Coco as well would say, "Oh yeah, well my hair changed then." Coco gave me a lot of insights as well on dating photos. And your mom also would design stuff like this, your Halloween costume with Halloween coming up. This is your Halloween poem over here. And then one of your Halloween costumes, which was the history of Halloween.
She was amazing, my mom, as an artist. I mean, and she would, every holiday season, she would do a big painting on the picture window in our house. And this, every Halloween, do outfits for me and my sister, and that was handwritten, the history of Halloween on a big empty cardboard box.
Yeah. Let's see what else people are asking here. Have you found any family photos that you didn't know existed and are extremely happy to have that you have found them? Like maybe photos that another relative took that are now in your possession?
I saw so much stuff that we ran across that you dug up, stuff that I don't remember seeing, or if I had, I forgot. But there is tons of photos from my early years and mid years and stuff that I had no idea that I still had.
It's a bit overwhelming. There's over 1,200 images in this book, and to get it down to 1,200 images, we did take out a lot of stuff just to get it condensed, just to get it into 500 pages. There was somebody commented online, well, I can't believe they're going to stretch this out into multiple volumes. Well, it's just to get this stuff to this took a couple of years of editing, really. And I think what's in here is really, really great. My question here from Mason Shea, did Micky take any photos of the guys during the headquarters sessions at RCA? If so, do any appear in the book? And the answer to that is no. You didn't take photos. A lot of photos were taken of you during those sessions, but they're not, because you didn't take them, there's not really a lot in the book. There's one photo that establishes that. But you do talk about you made a film during the headquarters sessions, which is now lost, and we don't have any
It
representation.
wasn't a film of the guys. It was a film of the empty studio when we were doing, one of the very first songs. And I went in with a cameraman and directed and with uh, 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 and there was nobody there. It was all silent, and I was going to cut it to the song, and then I just got sidetracked and lost touch with the filmmaker, the cameraman rather, and I've tried to track it down since, but I think it's probably pretty unlikely because there was nobody in it. There was nothing that would identify it as for what it was, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we still found a lot of interesting footage, and somebody else has asked because we've talked about the footage, and obviously, as I said, there's screen captures of you get the idea of the basics of what a lot of the visual footage is in the book. But people have asked if there will be some sort of companion release of any of the footage. I know you and I have talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
What we could do or how we could do it to get it out. A lot of it's silent footage, though. That's the thing, and it becomes less interesting. There's hours of it, but it's when used in the Shiny Happy People promo film, it brings it all to life. But
Yeah.
to sustain that for a long period of time is a difficult one to pull off.
Yeah. So we'll keep talking about it, and who knows? Watch the skies.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things I had wanted to float out there and do at some point was you started in about 1968. You in your house you had a dark room and also a 4-track recording studio, and you were interested in engineering not just your own music, but bringing a lot of people into the studio. And but you did record a lot of demos and interesting stuff at your house.
Yeah, I know. And we've talked about maybe somehow doing something with that too.
Yeah. There's some great stuff. There's some great stuff of Peter and David, and get people like Phil Oakes come over and record, and all kinds of weird stuff. So that other people gets into weird clearance legality stuff, but maybe some of Micky's material will turn up. Someone asks what the 5 unique prints will be in the Super Deluxe edition, and I should answer that. What it is there is a video of me showing them here on this channel, so you can check that out. It's a real brief one, but it's a photo of the 4 Monkees backstage in July 1967. All these photos are colored. There's individual shots of Michael, David, Peter, and Micky as well. So you get 5 photos. And they are photos that are in the book, but they're not cropped, and they are on 8x10 sheets, so they're frameable as individual things. But it's a beautiful shot of Michaal on the set of 33 1/3, and I think Micky on the set of 33 1/3 in your 50s getup, Peter on his last day as one of the Monkees the first time around in 1968 because he quit, and then Davey on the set of The Froda's Caper, which you directed. So now, Micky, you've got coming up a big in-store in Athens, Georgia. Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, sure. It's in a couple of weeks, and it's to kind of do an in-store, an old school in-store record store appearance. I didn't know there were any record stores anymore, but there is one in Athens, Georgia, called Wuxtree, and it turns out we discovered that it was where Michael Stipe was working, where I believe he met Peter Buck and maybe some of the other guys of REM. They were working there in their youth, and that's where they started the group, REM. So it was suggested that we do an in-store there. In fact, a good friend, Jody Ritson, is the one that came up with the idea. And it's turned out to be an incredible event. The mayor is giving me a key to the city, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be very reminiscent of old school record store launches.
Yeah, I think one of the first times I met you, although it wasn't a real meeting, was at an in-store for the album Pool It. I lined up with everybody else and my dad.
Wow.
I think out in like Costa Mesa at the Tower Records out there, a big line of people to meet you and get your get our record signed and stuff. But yeah, about 1987. So
Wow.
so that's, it was a great opportunity to meet you and David and Peter the first time, and get up and see you guys.
That's
So
cool.
I'm excited for all the fans who get to attend the event. And Henry Diltz, I think, is going to come out to it.
Yep. Henry's going to be there taking some photos, and so it should be a lot of fun.
I've got some with FOMO, right? Because I'm not going to be there, but I'll be back here waiting for the truck to show up because the books are on their way, which is a nice feeling. And
good.
You can go to beatlandbooks.com and check out the 3 different editions of Micky's book that are available still. Everything's on pre-order price through the end of the month, October. Then they go back up because the ship is going to come in. We're going to ship all the orders out and get them out to you as soon as possible. And we're going to make a couple more of these podcasts. If you have some more questions, send them our way. But there was one more thing. Somebody else did ask a specific thing about Circus Boy. So I want to get to that before we wrap this up. We're almost done. He says, Micky, I'm a huge fan. This is a guy named Jerry Beck who contributed to my Monkees book. He said, I love when you talk about your days on the Columbia Screen Gems lot, both Circus Boy and the Monkees. My number one question is about your castmates on Circus Boy. You worked with some legendary Hollywood actors, Noah Beery Jr., Robert Laurie, and Sterling Holloway, Andy Clyde. I'd love to hear any memories or stories you have about them.
Well, so long ago, I remember the whole, period of my life. I remember being on the set. I do remember little snatches of some of the character actors. The Stanley Holloway thing, I do remember because we went up in a hot air balloon, of all things. Noah Beery Jr. was incredible. He was like almost like a second father to me, or my uncle. Very, very kind. And so was Robert Lowry. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy, great actor. And then Big Boy Williams, Pete Williams, he was a great character actor from the era. And then a lot of these characters that would come in and out, like for Billy Barty, the circus, famous circus performer. And a lot of circus performers on the show were real circus performers. The producers had bought a defunct circus to use as the props and the wagons and the tents, and it was all real stuff. And along with it came some extras that had been circus roustabouts and acts and real high wire acts and real, clowns and jugglers and stuff. It was fantastic. And I remember that I did a lot of, not quite at the level of Tom Cruise, shall we say, but I did do a lot of my stunts, nothing dangerous, but riding the elephant, of course. I rode a camel. I rode an ostrich, a lion. I took photos on the back of Nuba the lion, the famous MGM lion. I did a high wire. I did walk on a tightrope, but with a harness. And then I rode on the back of a horse doing the equestrian thing, standing up and, bouncing around. And lots of other little stuff. But it was great fun. But people said, was it hard work? And it was like, I was living in a circus for 3 years. How hard can that be?
Yeah, and you had your on-set tutor, and we have all of the report cards that she gave you, and stuff about Arky Arkansas, who was the trainer for the 2 different bimbos, and there's background on that in the book. Speaking of circuses, this is my last thing for this podcast, and I just want to call out one of my favorite photo discoveries of the book that you shot. And it's kind of relating to it, but there was a famous chimpanzee named Mr. Jinx, and he visited your hospitality suite on his way out to retirement. He was an ice skating chimpanzee, but obviously fun enough that Nez wouldn't often go in for this sort of thing, so it must have been a situation. But they're some of the coolest photos that you took, and Jinx retired a few days after meeting you guys. He went to a zoo, and we have a little history about him in the book. So that's a fun way to wrap up our circus-oriented and Halloween-oriented edition of the podcast. We'll be back with a couple more of these before your books show up, and we'll show you a few more things. If you have more questions and responses and questions and encouragement, send it our way. And thank you very much, Micky.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
So long. Good night.